listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I'm watching my Spurs try to mount a comeback. As we started to get ready, they were down 80 to 100.
Goodness.
And they came back and are only down 104 to 90. So they've gained some ground. Instead of being down 20, they're down 14. So there's some hope, but it's 5.5 minutes left. And since this is not a Spurs podcast, how are you? How are things?
It's going where? Going well.
It's going where? That's a good question. If it's a question.
It's going. It's a statement.
It is a statement of profound unknown.
It's.
What are you doing over there?
Trying to evaluate where we're at in life, what we're doing in the portal, what we're doing on the basketball teams. It's a softball preseason ranking that got me really excited about softball, which is a weird thing to admit to myself because I'm also not super pumped about baseball. It's a strange time we're living in, man. Coming off a playoff appearance, women's basketball, undefeated.
Still.
Number one softball team in the land. We are a women's sports university. Well, we're adding women's sports to our repertoire of athletic things to talk about.
Correct.
Because you've been on top of it, on top of the team's successes and goings-ons for a couple of seasons now, starting with soccer and basketball. We all got on the hype train with softball last season. And that train rolleth on.
It does. I'm pretty excited. I hope that I haven't looked at the schedule. I should have, but I doubt they have TV and stuff figured out just yet. But I'd imagine it's fairly soon. And Tech did get a few games televised last year on more than just ESPN Plus. And after the year they had, I would imagine that would go up a little bit.
There's nothing on the schedule with any kind of
probably
TV
too early
information.
But yeah, there weren't many. I don't remember if I felt like there was at least one that was on ESPN2 or U or something like that.
Hey, scrolling through the schedule, the softball team hosts Texas A&M Corpus Christi, February 28th. Oh. The Islanders.
Are you going to be conflicted? Are you going to wear a jersey that's half and half?
Split. And no, I'm not. Go Red Raiders. Like I would root for anything Texas A&M. I'm scrolling through. The other thing that caught my eye, Michael, they are playing Team Japan in the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic in California. They have a doubleheader on Thursday, the 19th of February, including Fresno State and Team Japan. Then Bethune-Cookman on the 20th, Cal State Fullerton and San Diego State back-to-back on the 21st, and UC Riverside on the 22nd.
Dang.
We get 5 games in 3 days.
They're just setting up shop over there in California.
Yep.
Well, I think I'm ready
Anyways.
for it. I think I'm ready for softball season. The playoffs and everything last year was
Playoffs.
incredible. The World Series was nuts.
Oh my goodness. So much fun.
Not just Nigeria, but Tony. She's one that I remember in particular, who I believe is back. So just some really good, some good offense, some great defensive plays, and I don't know enough to ponder too much about the baseball team, but I have a feeling late in the spring I might be paying more attention to the softball team. We'll see though. We'll see.
Well, baseball team did start spring practices. I say spring. They started practices this week. They are 30 days out from game one. The softball team is 22 days out from their first game. Texas Tech baseball starts off in the Shriners Children's College Classic. Globe Life versus Oklahoma. Then Vanderbilt, and then Arkansas. Weekend of Valentine's Day, Friday the 13th.
So
Vanderbilt on the 14th, Arkansas on the 15th.
We thinking 0-3 to start the year?
Hopefully not.
1-2, maybe.
And definitely not 0-4. They head to my neck of the woods, Michael.
Oh, well,
take on UTRGV in Edinburgh.
Let's just right down the road. You've already found a good barbecue place.
I have. It was really good. Very interesting that they're playing this game in Edinburgh. But
yeah, Scotland's a heck of a drive.
Not Edinburgh. Oh. Edinburgh. Actually, I've probably shared this before. One of our VPs of operations was a former pitcher for the Vaqueros. And he threw out the first pitch at one of the Hooks games this year when we were a big corporate sponsor.
Did he go full wind up? Right down the middle?
It was abbreviated. Like he wasn't like, look at me, I was a pitcher. But he stood on top of the mound and threw a dart.
Probably effortlessly, like 60 miles an hour.
I was like, man, I'm so glad that like we stumbled upon you as a former college pitcher to do this and not me. Because I would have said,
I'll just toss it out there. Oh, that was 68. Well, just
good times.
Just tossing the old ball around. No big deal.
Yeah. All right. Quick look ahead for the schedule. I do want to talk about schedule. Football. Michael, we did we touch on the schedule yet?
Not really. I mean, not lately. I think when it came out, we did, but it's been a minute. It's been a while. That our season is officially ended. We can turn the calendar and look at 2026 football. So I don't think we've addressed it.
Yeah, it's coming up. That's no duh. What I meant is like there's been some early attention on the Texas Tech schedule, and we'll discuss why. Some off-season or postseason recognition, some silly compromise or halfway step between current state of how many games you can play before you lose eligibility for this season or you use eligibility for that season versus the full-on 5-for-5 proposal where there's a lot of support for this halfway step. And I was like, well, if we're thinking about this, let's just go all the way and do the 5-for-5 and let's get that done. And then we're going to talk about the portal. We're going to have to. There's some updates from the last time we talked. The playoff bracket, we have a national title game set for the 19th. And then we'll get into round ball, basketball, men's and women's hoops. NFL, since we talked about it, NFL wild card weekend was it's entertaining, man. watched most of those games.
Man.
So
Yeah. I don't know hardly any of the players' names, but it doesn't matter.
well, it's funny because like
fantastic.
most of the players should be guys that we know of, like played in college while we were watching a lot of college football. And there's a lot of them like a couple of you guys sound familiar, but yeah. So let's start back with Texas Tech football. I think a lot of people are looking ahead to the 2026 Texas Tech schedule to get a glimpse of like, okay, what's it going to be like when things are coming together? Is it how, I wouldn't say likely, but like what are the early looks at, can Texas Tech repeat? Can they have a shot at getting back in the conference title game, Michael? And with knowing very little about what these teams will look like on the field, what they look like at the end of this season, and where you play them home versus away, man, it's hard not to look at that schedule like Texas Tech has got a great shot at going 11-1, 12-0 next season. And that feels ridiculous to kind of throw that out there. I know that. It's January. Like, Texas Tech's going to go undefeated in 2026. But
grab that drop, somebody.
But let's talk about this for a second. Your non-conference schedule: September 5th, Abilene Christian; September 12th, ACU. On the road at Oregon State, you get the return trip. They will have a new coaching staff and a pretty substantially overhauled roster. The 19th, you're off, and then back home versus Sam Houston State. It's not the FCS version of Sam Houston State, but a program in transition nonetheless. Again, hard to see that you stumble anywhere in those first three games. Now, we don't have an order yet or exact schedule for which games are on which days, but you've got 5 conference home games. And in alphabetical order, they are Arizona, Arizona State, Houston, TCU, West Virginia. And then your conference road schedule: Baylor, Cincinnati, Colorado, Oklahoma State.
That road schedule does not scare me at all.
Baylor maybe without a head coach by the time you get to them.
Yeah, either without a head coach or a coach with the hottest of seats. Cincinnati, we have their quarterback.
We have their man.
Yeah. Colorado has kind of regressed back to Colorado. And Oklahoma State is undergoing the exact same thing Oregon State is, which is a weird thing to say. But yeah, completely new roster, new coaching staff, new everything.
Well, a new roster to Oklahoma State. Not a new
You're right.
roster.
Kind
You
of
just transplanted the North Texas team from Denton.
Yeah,
and
he
dropped him into Stillwater.
He pulled a JMU to Indiana kind of thing going here. A New Mexico to Vanderbilt type deal, but I'm still not that sounds pretty good. Sign me up for it. I'm also glad to see Baylor and TCU back on the schedule. I did kind of miss that last year, but I don't think TCU is going to be a slouch. I know Hoover's gone, but and Houston definitely won't be a slouch. Houston may be even better than they were this year. I have obviously not kept up with their portal or anything like that, but Arizona and Arizona State, Arizona State's without their quarterback. The two of them did not do well in their bowl games. And we get them at home. Yep. Sign me up. West Virginia, show me something, and then I'll be worried.
Yeah, so Arizona State replacing basically their entire skill set, skill production, skill position players, whatever how you want to phrase that. However, portal wise, the Sun Devils are loaded up with top level receivers. If you look at their composite ratings, I think they got like the number 3 and 4 receiver. I don't know much about their quarterback. So there's that.
Neither do they.
TCU landed the potential target from Texas Tech, or sorry, the potential target that Texas Tech may have gone after had they not landed Sorsby or Levitt or whoever they would have been. Jaden Craig from Harvard, who put up just ridiculous numbers. So Arizona State, TCU, Houston will be your toughest games, I believe, across all of your schedule. Then depending on what Arizona may look like, what Colorado can do, and Oklahoma State, like it's not like you can just walk through and be like, okay, well, non-conference obviously 3-0. Your 9-game slate, you got the easiest of the easy. Like there are opportunities there. Like Colorado may have found out who they want to play quarterback by the time you get to them. Oklahoma State may have enough things put together, and you play them at home. In Stillwater. But to me, Houston, as weird as it is to say, Houston may be your biggest game on the schedule. The home game, they were pretty good this season and looked to be headed to be even better. You missed TCU, so you didn't really get a good feel for them, but they're replacing a lot, and they, like we already said, Arizona State. So I like it. I like it in the standpoint it sets you up well to get back to a Big 12 title game, on January 13th. What I don't like is that there's not a clear test on this schedule. I think a lot of people said that Texas Tech was mainly untested this season. You had much more of a test in BYU and Utah this year than I think you have anything on your schedule outside of potentially Houston, but I don't think they're going to have the top defense that BYU and Utah did. So,
well, you can only play the schedule you have.
Sure, and it's not like you put this together now. So,
sure. I just think, yeah, I'm with you that there will be, especially after the perceived failures of the Big 12 in the CFP this year and some of these bowl games, however people want to spin it, that's fine. But yeah, let's just go 11-1, 12-0, get to that Big 12 championship again, and make them rank us anyway.
Yeah,
even though they don't want to, even though they think this is an inferior league and all that kind of stuff. Well, sorry, but you're going to have to rank a 12-1 Big 12 champion. It's going to have to happen.
I'm curious now that I was just thinking about it. What does the BYU football schedule look like? Do we meet them again in the Big 12 title game? But this time it would not be a repeat. Let's see, 2026. They have Utah Tech. That's a team. At Colorado State. Then they have Arizona State, Baylor, Iowa State, Cincinnati, all at home. Then their road conference games at Kansas, at TCU, at UCF, at Utah. And then home for Notre Dame.
Interesting. Oh, I forgot they added that recently, didn't they? I swear that was a recent addition, but I'm not entirely sure.
I don't remember hearing that. my mind would just say like that the BYU Notre Dame stuff came up because of the bowl game more so than the scheduling it recently.
December 22nd. BYU and Notre Dame agree to a football series in 26 and 27. So
Well,
that just happened.
that would have been what, like a week before they would have met in the bowl game, the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yeah, that's interesting if that had anything to do with
All
it.
right. Did you see that Kenny Perry was recognized for his special teams units while at Texas Tech?
Well, shoot, I recognized him the other day at Perry's Pizza joint. But that's not what you're talking about.
No, I meant like, well, that doesn't want to load. Not that he was named to an award specifically, but that the official Texas Tech football account put out some compiled stats from this season, how it compares against the rest of the conference, against the rest of the country, and then his time here as a special teams coordinator. And the 4 years, so 2025 National Special Teams Coordinator of the Year, named by Football Scoop. He's had 2 top 5 punters in school history, Austin McNamara at 1 and Jack Burgess at 5. 4 consecutive seasons of place kickers earning Big 12 accolades. 87 field goals made. That leads the Power 4. Don't know if that's like, you want to have a high field goal percentage, which was 7th in the Power 4 at 81.2%. Not necessarily you kicked more field goals than anybody else, but you'll take points. This one was surprising that it was so high. 14 blocked kicks in the 4 years. It's tied for 3rd in all of college football, not just the Power 4. 3 kickoff return touchdowns. It's tied for the most in the Big 12. 17 yards allowed in opponent yards per kickoff return at 2nd best in the country. And 4th best special teams unit in 2025, according to ESPN FPI.
That all sounds really good.
Especially when you consider there was a video that came up today about Texas Tech kicking a field goal, attempting to kick a field goal on 2nd down.
Why was that recirculating? I saw it too.
It came up as like Coyote Raider said, you think you can hurt me, but I watched my team attempt to kick a field goal on 2nd down and miss.
Oh, man, I just wish I wish it would go away, but it won't, and rightfully so. It's just I just don't like reliving it. That's all.
It's horrendous.
2nd and 4.
With like 3 minutes to go.
Well, I mean, Tech was down by 10 or 11.
Which is like,
got to get that ball back.
It's so wild. Yeah, you were down by, I think you were down by 9.
Well, it was 2 scores.
Whatever it was.
For sure it was 2 scores, but yeah, it may have just been 9. That's a good point.
But like on 1st down, you pick up 6 yards and then you send out the field goal unit. There was, I don't remember this particularly, I was just so irritated with kicking on 2nd down. Supposedly Matt Wells didn't know what down it was. When he sent the kick team out. It was like, that's pretty easy to find out though, man. They have those markers on the field. They have them on the scoreboards, the video board. You could ask the official standing right next to you.
Well, wouldn't it be, or speak up, coach. Someone else on the headset, like, no. Matt. No, Matt. 2nd down and 4, not 4th and 2. It's 2nd and 4. What? I don't think I'd heard that tidbit or paid attention. I think I just blacked out after that game. And I don't remember. Not from drinking or anything. I just think it was just, that was it. Kind of like when your computer does the blue screen. I think that was me. during that sequence.
It looks like that was in 2020. Yes. Texas Tech attempted a field goal on second down from the 25-yard line.
It missed. If Perry would have been here, we'd have made it. It would have been the right call if Perry would have been here.
I want to see who the special teams coach was.
Wasn't it that guy that?
It may have been Tommerdahl.
Tommerdahl, yeah.
Yep.
I kept wanting to say Spavital, but I knew that. I was like, no,
right.
something doll.
The other thing that came out, FBS coaches unanimously, I don't know what the sample size there was, but unanimously recommend expanding redshirt threshold from 4 games to 9. 4 regular season games to 9 without losing eligibility. This wouldn't be the 5-for-5, and it would not be NCAA policy yet. It would still need to go to the Division I committee for review. And if that passes, it wouldn't go into effect in 2027, 2028. So it wouldn't affect really anybody on the roster now except for freshmen. But if we're considering going from 4 to 9, why not 10? Why not 8? Why not just do the full 5-for-5? Like, what?
Yes.
How do we pick out 9? How many coaches were polled in this unanimous group? I don't think like, it would be unpopular, but it's like, did you ask 5 people and they all said, yeah, that sure. I would like to get more of my players, more games into more games. Anyways, I think it's a step in the right direction. I agree with, I agree with the 5-for-5 direction. And then simplify all the redshirt or medical hardships and
they have to simplify it at some point, especially with all the portal transfers. It's even harder to keep up with when the roster shift as much as they do. You've got to dig back through 3 schools ago to see if this kid can trot out and punt for you on the 12th game of the season. Ah, crap, I don't know. Well, did he technically punt in 3 games at Liberty?
Or
was it 4? Or was it 5? I don't. Oh man, yeah. It's insane. They've got to simplify things because things are so complicated. Let's do that instead of keeping up with more things, which is what this sounds like. 9 sounds good on the surface, but then now you've got to keep up with all that.
Yeah, it just says like, 1, you're moving away from the COVID extra years of eligibility that were granted, which I think were a good way to kind of blanket like everybody back that year, because you had some teams playing 4 games and some teams played whole schedules, and that would have been just a mess to try to figure out what to do with. But in that same vein, just like, okay, let's give your first season was 2020, then your last season is going to be 2025 type of. I said 20 because it was just an easy round number. 2025 is your first season, then 2030 is going to be your last possible eligible season. After that, get a job or go pro. Do something else. So, all right. I want to talk about the portal. I want to update, or I want to go through the names I gave for Texas Tech portal entrance was incomplete, and that was not intentional. But I'll go through the guys that are seeking opportunities elsewhere, and then update you on if those guys have landed somewhere yet or not. None of these guys you should be familiar with all of them. They're not like, nobodies, no name. Sorry, I lost my train of thought
We're-
there for a second.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't
Come back
what
to us.
What am I saying? It's been a day. All right. So Texas Tech Red Raiders that have hit the portal. Quarterback Mitch Griffiths, he is committed and signed at Eastern Carolina. Defensive lineman Braylon Rigsby going to Oklahoma State. Edge Cheetah Ofili, TCU. Kicker Upton Bellenfant, South Carolina. Cornerback Macho Stevenson going to Tulane. Defensive end or edge Dylan Spencer going to UTSA, along with wide receiver Tyrone West. Cornerback Mo Horn also going to Oklahoma State. Wide receiver Kelby Valson going to FAU, reconnecting with Kitley. Edge Amir Washington going to UCLA. Cornerback Deontay Lindsay going to ACU. Tight end Trey Jackson going to SMU. Wide receiver Bryce Morgan. I don't know how I mix up the next two names. Bryce Morgan going to Incarnate Word. Tyson Turner going to Houston. Edge going to Eddie Smith going to UTSA. So you've got 3 guys going to UTSA, and you picked up at least one guy from UTSA. And then you've got 6 more currently in the portal that have not committed yet. Offensive lineman Kason Long, defensive back safety Chapman Lewis, wide receiver Roy Alexander, tight end and defensive lineman Tanner Allen, wide receiver or tight end Preston Harrison, and then linebacker Justin Horn. We talked about the key returners: Howard Sampson, Terrence Carter, Lloyd Jones, Bryce Pollock, Jaden Cofield. Those are all big names to get back. And then the new portal commitments for Texas Tech since last we spoke. Kicker Jacob Hand from SFA, Stephen F. Austin, 2025. He was 3 of 3 on field goals, Michael, and totaled 95 total touchbacks on kickoffs in the 2 seasons with SFA.
So he's 100%.
Sure is.
Well, all right. Good thing he's got a really good special teams coach.
Yeah. Wide receiver Malcolm Simmons from Auburn. This is one of the 18 wide receivers transferring out of Auburn. I say that like you got number 18. Depending on the game, the specific game you look at, the box score, he was a leading receiver for them several times. Last year, he had 25 receptions for 457 yards, which is 18.3 yards per catch and 2 touchdowns. You had to move on from Cam Coleman when he announced his commitment to Texas on Sunday. Some interesting comments about potentially Texas Tech didn't think they ever had him, but that's not at all what the recruiting services were saying. The same recruiting services that then came back and said you didn't ever have him. So your wide receiver room now includes Jalen Jones, Dante Lee, Kenny Johnson, and Malcolm Simmons. You're adding 4 to your group while losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you were -1, but the guys that you were losing, of those 5, you had 2 that had ever contributed on the field. So we also know that at least this current iteration of the offense, you've had a really tight rotation of your receivers. So not having 18 guys on the roster with wide receiver listed next to them may not be, the end of the world that you're not 1-for-1 replacing them. And then most recently, linebacker Corey Platt from Houston, a player that has a lot of familiarity with Shield Wood as he played for him last season. This year, he had 41 tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 passes defended. Maybe a AJ McCarty replacement and a John Curry depth piece, but you like that he's got experience in this system under Shield Wood, and just a good dude to have around. So those are your most recent additions. The other one that is technically a transfer in that we haven't talked about came early in the fall. It was edge Amari Fleming from Angelo State. So you've got a handful of edge rushers in your portal class coming in. I'm counting 3. Yes. And Trey White, Adam Trick, and Amari Fleming to go along with your defensive line class. Well, hold on. Let's get to the other portion here. You had been rumored to be heavy favorites for a couple of guys. One was a Eugene Trey Wilson of Florida. This was early on in the season. Sorry, in the portal cycle. He has since committed and signed with LSU. Cam Coleman, most notably from Auburn, committed to Texas over the weekend. And then Wendell Gregory from Oklahoma State. At one point, he and Adam Trick were on campus about the same time, visiting and looking to announce, but he has since committed to Kansas State. Do you have any thoughts on the wide receivers, Michael?
Well,
because I did. I just didn't know if I was being too harsh.
I'm slightly concerned, but also really excited about the running back group and Terrence Carter, Sorsby being part of that running back group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to pretend like I'm not slightly concerned, but you know, Micah Hudson is still around.
Yeah.
I'm not sending out flares yet. What are your thoughts?
I think, as tends to happen with the higher rated and more sought after recruits, those recruitments are a lot more volatile. They can go any number of different directions very quickly. So you think you're doing really well, you hear that you're in a good spot, and then they end up committing somewhere else. You're like, wow, I logically thought that was a possibility, but I felt pretty good about our chances. And in the portal era, the past couple of seasons, Texas Tech is not used to being in a spot where you get down to a recruiting battle that you end up losing. You had some very public comments from your GM and your development guys that then got quote tweeted, or not quote tweeted back, but subtweeted back at you by the Texas staff when Coleman ends up committing. You get that graphic or that image of James Blanchard in an industrial cooking setting wearing a Texas Tech apron, says let me cook or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, Texas Tech has landed the commitments of Malcolm Simmons and Corey Platt and the kicker. And you had missed out on a handful of guys, namely Cam Coleman and Coy Parrish, the safety from Minnesota, who's going to Oregon. Not that Malcolm Simmons and Corey Platt aren't or can't be good contributors for you, but you were looking at top of the food chain type players at both of their positions, and you get that kind of comment from your GM, and like, well, you got cooked, as what happened, sir. So I'm depending on the rankings you look at, and who you believe versus, if you look at specific recruiting service rankings versus the industry composite, there are a handful of uncommitted guys, at numbers 5 and 6 in terms of receivers. DeAndre Moore at 5, Darrell Gill Jr. of Syracuse at 6. Gill is actually from the Houston area, so somebody that wants to come back to the Texas angle, you've got a good shot there. And then the next uncommitted guy is at 27. And these numbers were before the Malcolm Simmons commitment was official, and then it depends on where he ends up fitting in. But your highest rated commit before Simmons was Dante Lee at 94. So you were aiming for a couple of guys that were contributors and pieces to add around Cam Coleman, and then you missed on Coleman. Like, well, now we're left with your highest rated receiver transfer at 94. Granted, you already mentioned Michael Hudson. We haven't mentioned Koy Aiken, who's still on the roster.
Right.
But when you're looking for guys that can go up against top defenses and create separation and make big plays, you saw what Koy Aiken can do. He's a fantastic Red Raider and contributor, and he's had great seasons, but he's more of a possession receiver, one that's not going to create his own space, get behind the defense. Not the big play explosive threat that your offense had been lacking. Micah Hudson is untested. He looked pretty good the second half against West Virginia. But what that looks like moving forward, I would really expect him to move into a heavy contributor role this upcoming season, but don't know exactly what that's going to look like. So maybe Dante Lee being highest behind Malcolm Simmons at 94 is more of like, hey, we're replacing, your Jalen Jones, your Dante Lees are coming in to replace your Tyrone West and your Kelby Valson, and your Kenny Johnson and Malcolm Simmons are more of your CD, your Caleb Douglas and Reggie Virgil replacements. So yeah, I'm not like enthralled with the wide receiver group so far, and I would still love to see offensive line be addressed, but anyways,
There's still time. So the portal today is the 13th of January. The portal officially closes on the 16th until there's a brief reopening of the portal from the 20th to the 21st for Miami and Indiana for anyone in the national championship game.
I thought they got 5 days.
Well, that's 5.
Oh, sorry. You said the 20th and 21st, or sorry,
20th through 24th.
You may have said the 24th. I heard 21st. Okay, you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Actually, I may have just heard you wrong.
No, you're good. And it was, but who knows? Maybe they're eyeballing someone from that group that they have accidentally texted or something. I don't know.
Well, and to that point, like Ole Miss and Oregon players are still trickling into the portal. Like their season's just ended. So
there's some decent guys on those teams.
Yeah, when you make the semifinals, you've got a pretty good roster.
Pretty good. They're pretty good, and they may love Lubbock just as much as we do. You never know.
For sure. Speaking of the semifinals, Michael, did you watch those 2 games?
I watched quite a bit of Miami versus Ole Miss. I think I watched mostly the second half. Great game. A lot of back and forth. Kept expecting and waiting for Beck to stumble. Never did. The dude just kept winning. Ran in the touchdown, making big throws. I was really impressed. I mean, I hope that he didn't use all of his luck in that one game, but man, that was a really good game. That was a lot of fun to watch, and you have a 10 seed headed to the national championship. This is why you do a playoff for stuff like this. I don't know if people would consider Miami a quote unquote Cinderella story, but that's what everybody wanted, right? That type of thing to happen. And it is. So that's great. That's why you have a playoff. That's why these teams get to go head to head against other teams and just actually see who wins and not go with hypotheticals and computers and all that kind of stuff. So off my soapbox, the game was great. I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I don't know if Miami's going to be able to slow down Indiana. Mendoza is on an absolute heater.
Dude's a machine.
My goodness, like since he won the Heisman, I think this guy's got like 5 incompletions or something.
Yeah, so through the playoffs, he's thrown 8 touchdowns to 5 incompletions.
Incompletions.
He's almost doubled up touchdowns to incompletions.
They have just dismantled the 2 playoff games they had. We talked about Alabama last week, and then
it got worse.
Oregon. I don't want to say poor Oregon, but I kind of do because, man, I was excited about that game. I thought, man, I'm going to watch as much of this as I can. I was done. I think I watched until halftime just to see if there would be any reason to come back to it, and then I never watched it again. Once it went to halftime, I switched to a show I was watching or something and just checked the score on my phone. It's like, yeah, I think I know how this ends. Goodness gracious, Indiana.
It felt like a little reactionary and facetious at the moment. Like when they threw a pick 6 on the first play, like, oh, this game's over. But like it literally, like it never got better.
No, just so much pressure on the quarterback, and that defense just kept coming up with more turnovers, and that the offense scored every time they had the ball. It seemed like wow.
Did you see that tweet about that looked into Indiana has forced an interception on the opening drive in 5 of their games this year?
5? Well, talk about setting the tone, to quote Shorzy.
4 of them within like the first, like before the other team has gotten a first down, like in the first 3 plays.
Oh my gosh.
It's like these guys have cracked some code of something, whatever it is. Like their scouting and evaluation of opponents is like top tier. It's second to none. If you're able to do that, like if you're able to study tendencies and know what your other opponent likes to do to start the game, which I don't know what that is, because like a lot of teams like to have a very specific open to their games. Some coordinators script it out like I want to run these plays, and some are like Leftwich says I've got some ideas about what I want to try to establish, but I don't have a list of plays I want to run. Kingsbury was very scripted in that sense, and Leftwich is not. But to have that kind of insight into your opponents, not that you have like opening drive success on defense where you force a lot of 3 and outs or you don't allow teams to score, but in a third of your games you force a turnover, an interception. 4 of them on the first series before they're able to convert a first down. That's ridiculous. And then you get the Cignetti and Mendoza robotic natures of just how they're locked in.
Oh yeah,
Cignetti's a psycho. There's no other way.
The best way.
Well, in the most entertaining way for us, not having to go against them.
Yes,
I had a very like sinking feeling in my stomach. Like, had Texas Tech beaten Oregon and faced Indiana, watching what Indiana did to Oregon, like that's probably exactly what would have happened to Texas Tech in the semifinals. Like I felt maybe it's because we saw what Oregon did to Texas Tech and like, well, if we were in their shoes, Indiana would have done the same thing to us. I was like, man, this would have been miserable. To have that kind of hope, like, oh yes, we beat Oregon. Here we are. we can hang with anybody, and then like, oh my gosh.
These guys know where we're throwing the ball before we do.
Before Morton's decided.
Yeah.
And there were times when Oregon absolutely had Morton's mind read.
Oh, he should have had 3 or 4 interceptions that day.
Yeah. So Miami, Indiana, entertaining. I love this sort of like Miami not sneaking in, but coming in, on selection Sunday, being the last team in, ahead of the group of 5 auto qualifiers to make a run all the way to the national championship game in Miami to face Indiana, the juggernaut, with a quarterback led, by Mendoza, who's also from Miami. Yeah, sorry. I was reading a comment from Aaron Fellers. What Cignetti has done at Indiana should be studied by PhD students for years. Yeah, I don't disagree. Because this isn't like some kind of long tenured career at Indiana where he just slowly built him up. He was in the playoffs year 1 last year, had a first round bye and lost. Year 2, they figured it out. They're the only team with a first round bye that has logged a win and just look absolutely untouchable, which is so strange to say about Indiana, who has historically been the losingest program in college football history.
Yeah, that's a indisputable fact. I don't think, in case you guys haven't heard that Spencer's not being hyperbolic. That's true. And he was able to do that there. And I've seen this take on a couple of places, but specifically on SV Pod, where they kind of talk about how the SEC has. I'm not going to say that their days are numbered or gone or whatever, but there were no SEC teams that made it this far except for Ole Miss, and they got beat by the 10 seed. But
it felt like they were on borrowed time anyways.
Right. And it just shows what type of war chest a bunch of these big schools have that just weren't able or willing to utilize it the way that a lot of the SEC schools did prior to NIL. I mean, these schools have massive amounts of alumni. I think Indiana, someone said, I don't know how many alumni they have, but I swear they're in the top 5 or 10 or something.
They have the largest living alumni base at 800,000.
Okay. So you take that, you take a school that's a prestigious school, and you take an alumni base that is probably mostly successful people, and you say, okay, now you're allowed to pull money together and buy players. Boom. That type of thing happens. And that's not necessarily what Indiana did. I'm not taking away what Cignetti did. I mean, they've made a huge thing about it during the broadcast. He had a handful of 4 or 5 stars on his team, and these other teams have 40 or 50.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought his guys from James Madison, and he brought, of course, some portal pieces in. Everybody does. He's coaching them. He's doing this, and his players are doing this. But it just shows that if you get the right guy in at the right time, and then the money's able to start coming in behind it, this success, I don't see it slowing down. Maybe they have an off year and go 9-3 at some point, but this could just be a new thing now, and it's really interesting in a different part of this whole conversation of how these in Texas Tech, is fortunate to have a handful of super wealthy donors that and a coaching staff that have made great evaluations and great investments in the team. But even Texas Tech is as fortunate as we have been. There are teams that there are true sleepers out there too, kind of like we were, but even on a larger scale, like Indiana, that can now just you need money, here you go. You've got it. What do you need? We will get it for you. It's wild.
Yeah, with an alumni base that large, and granted, this is like not everybody that is an alumnus from Indiana is a football fan, and not everybody wants to or can donate back to their alma mater's athletic fund, NIL fund. But with a base that large, say you took half of them, and they all donated $100, $40 million. Like,
Yeah.
like that covers.
There's your roster.
covers a roster twice over.
Yeah.
So half of them gives $50 before you even get into big money donors. Oh, by the way, they've got Mark Cuban in their back pocket.
One of my favorite things is on Twitter, Chuck McElroy. That's not his real name, but he likes to remind people in the SEC, like, the SEC has car dealership money, but some places, out in West Texas, we have oil field money. We have Permian Basin funds, and then he hasn't made this jump to Indiana or anything, but it's kind of the same deal. Like they have a billionaire plural money, and or just the numbers, just the sheer numbers. It's just an incredible thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll hate it in 20 years, but even with Tech benefiting from it, obviously, I think I'm going to be hard to convince that this isn't bad, or that this is bad. I mean, but I do like that we're seeing teams that we haven't seen have extremely great success, and it's largely due to that. And it's hopefully, and not because I'm just a hater, but because they've had their time. Hopefully the SEC's going to start sliding a little bit. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So Miami versus Indiana, betting line has is at Indiana -7.5. That feels like a lot, but I also saw what they just did to Oregon. So
Right.
But Miami's got a pretty good defense. Our favorite tool is the CFB graphs matchup. This has it as a 1.5 for Miami. Sorry, for Indiana, 25.75 to 24.21. I didn't put this as a neutral site on CFB graphs. I just put this as a Miami home game. But you look across the board, EPA for Indiana, EPA margin, Indiana's 2, Miami's 7. Offensive success rate for Indiana's 2. It's 10 for Miami. Defensive success rate for Indiana's 5, 9 for Miami. Like, this is such a... Miami was a 10 seed, but they aren't like the 10th best team. They absolutely have played their way in and deserve to be here and are stacking up very well against Indiana. But Indiana is also a machine, a juggernaut, and may not matter who was in front of them. So I'll tuning in, obviously. Very interested to watch this game on Monday. I have Monday off. Well, sorry, I say Monday off. I'm working from home on Monday. Our office will be closed, but I will not be taking the day off. For Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
How will you partake in the game? Are you going to just watch the traditional broadcast? Are you going to seek out I love all the options we have now, where you can watch the broadcast with the Miami radio team behind it, or the Indiana radio team behind it, or you can watch the Skycam with just basically stadium noise, or you could watch the coach's room where they're kind of dissecting things as they happen. It's a lot of fun to have those things to pick from. I generally go. I mentioned it last week when I rewatched the Tech game. I watched the Skycam as much as I could. I might do that for this, but I generally just stick with traditional broadcasts. What about you, though?
If I had multiple screens up, yeah, I would go with like I'd have the broadcast and then I have coaches' rooms, Skycam. Audio wise, without having a dog in this fight, I'll probably just stick to the national broadcast audio. If it was Texas Tech, I absolutely would
Oh,
have Brian
man.
Jensen on.
How great would that be to not have to like sync up a device or anything? You just turn on your TV, you pick the ESPN app, and you pick Texas Tech radio.
Yeah, that would get me even more fired up just to hear them not having to be impartial,
Mhm.
call it both ways, or be even keeled about it. Yeah. I'm a little sad that the football season we got one game left. It's come down to this, man. And unfortunately, Texas Tech's not in it, but it's a pretty good matchup. That I'm not disappointed in the two teams. Enjoy that there's not an SEC team being represented. It's kind of funny that the ACC champion is not Miami. That it was Duke, and there's just that weirdness to the how everything worked out with their tiebreakers and the SEC getting in. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams.
Yeah, the only teams they beat were other SEC teams.
Yeah. Well, Ole Miss beat Tulane.
Okay, that's true.
But then
I missed that.
Then Alabama over Oklahoma, and Alabama lost. Ole Miss over Georgia, and then Ole Miss obviously lost. So
yeah. I can't think of a time. You mentioned something about not being disappointed with the matchup with this playoff, and like I said, things can always change. I cannot think of a scenario where I would be disappointed because no matter what, the teams in here have played 2 or 3 games to get to this point. I mean, they played 12 or 13 before that, but then obviously 2 or 3 in the playoff itself. And I just think that not that much flukiness can happen, but we'll see. We'll find out here. If you had to take it, Indiana minus 7.5, what are you going to do? You taking the Hoosiers, or are you going to go with Miami in the points?
I think Indiana continues. I think they probably win by 10.
I hate it. I'm with you. I know it's just recency bias and seeing them absolutely demolish a team that did not allow Texas Tech in the end zone once, and then also demolishing Alabama the week before. This is the second time they beat Oregon. They beat them worse. I'm with you. No offense to Miami. I'm worried that Beck's magic may have gotten used up against Ole Miss, but goodness gracious, that Indiana team just looks unstoppable. But that type of thing has been proven wrong over and over and so many times. That's why you play the games.
Yeah, if Miami were to pull it off, it would be interesting that the 2 years of the expanded playoff field, the bracket, that you had an 8 seed win it last year and a 10 seed win it this year. Because Ohio State was an 8 seed last year.
The games, it's great.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about basketball, man.
Okay.
All right, so Texas Tech men have they split the week results from last we recorded. It was a Tuesday night loss as we were recording versus Houston, 69-65. We talked about that game on our last show. And then Saturday in Boulder versus Colorado, 11-3, 1-0 at the time. Texas Tech was, according to Haslam metrics, going into the game, a 7-point favorite. at some point in the second half, Michael, Texas Tech was up 25, 24. And then it came down to Colorado missing a 3-point attempt that would have won the game had it gone in. But Texas Tech wins 73-71.
That is so wild to me. We were celebrating my wife's birthday and hanging out with some friends, and the TV was on, and we were paying attention to it, but not really. I mean, it was 60-42 with 10 minutes left, and something kind of weird happened to the TV, and we kind of got distracted. And so then eventually we had it put on the Bears Packers game because that was going on at about that same time. Because everybody was like, well, Tech's whatever. No one was checking their phones. They saw the score, and then everyone checked their phones when they were notified what the final score was, and we just all were trying to figure out how it happened.
So I was kind of following it, but like there was a lot of stuff going on at the house. I had it like on my phone, but like volume low or off. The pieces I was able to pick up on was that you were in, again, a thin rotation, and you will continue to see this until you get Mosley and Bemboye back. I mean, Anderson played 40 minutes. Donovan Atwell played 35. Jalen Petty played 35. Lawan Watts 33. But the problem was you had Atwell, Toppin, Watts, and Petty all had 4 fouls. So you were doing a lot of subbing in and out there to try to preserve keeping as many guys in as possible, as many of your starters in the game as possible. So your rotation was kind of broken up. You weren't able to get into like a good rhythm. Colorado was doing really good job of capitalizing on that. Had pretty good size, and I mean, you had 46 rebounds on the night. I just saw that. That's just ridiculous. Let me see what Colorado had. 36. You out rebounded them by 10. Despite you having the 4 starters in foul trouble. All right, no, sorry, reverse that. You had 20 fouls committed to only 9 for Colorado. They got a little bit of a home whistle, sure, but like you kind of have to like adjust for that and kind of compensate for that. But Colorado were 19 of 22 from the free throw line, and Texas Tech were 4 of 10.
Oh gosh!
So you took less than half as many free throw attempts, but you were also abysmal. You only got 4 points off of it, where they got 19. So,
well, looking ahead, I mean, hopefully Utah on Wednesday will be, I don't want to say get right or whatever, but you don't want to take anything for granted in the Big 12. But that's an 8-6 team. At least I don't know if they played tonight. I don't think they did. So yeah, I guess they're still 8-6. Kind of a higher Haslam projection there, but man, I mean, to see a lead like that on the road just dwindle down to a last second 3, coming down to what won or lost the game, it's not a great feeling.
They're actually 8-8. The Utah.
Oh,
Utes.
Okay. So
they lost
2
Wednesday the 7th. Yeah, they lost at Colorado by 8, and they lost home versus BYU, number 9 BYU, by 5. Since we last updated so they're on a 4-game losing streak, going back to the 29th when they played at Washington. They lost by 9. They lost at home versus number 1 Arizona by 19. So
perfect time to come to Lubbock.
But they've got a guy, Brown, He's going off for 25, 29, 27, 36. The dude's a scorer, but he may be the only one. He and McHenry seem to be their scoring threats. But yeah, to your point, like you can't take him any nights off. You can't take him lightly, but you'll be back home versus an 8-8 team. And then getting ready for Saturday's matchup versus top 10 BYU, 13-1, 1-0 in the Big 12. You are a thinnest, slightest of Haslametric favored there, 80.07 to 79.96. So 0.11 points of a favorite there. It's going to be pretty big test for you to take on that squad. They've got just ridiculous numbers. They're 15-1, 3-0 in Big 12 play. Thanks, Michael. And that game will be on ESPN2 Wednesdays versus Utah. You're going to have the extra subscription here to pick it up. You can get it on the Peacock.
Yeah, so. I have a problem, Spencer. I'm addicted to these streaming things. So I have Peacock. I'll be fine. I'll be able to watch tomorrow, no problem. No big deal.
Have you added that to your spreadsheet of like streaming services? And
I have, and it's I hate that I still keep up with it because it's I definitely pay more than I probably ever did for cable.
Yeah, I'm irritated. Like I'm paying $70 a month for internet, and I think our Hulu package is up to $105 a month.
Yeah,
it's like I was not paying $180 for cable.
I don't know. I don't know if I was either. But then we've got a few more on top of that.
And we don't. Well, so the Hulu package is Hulu Live plus Disney plus ESPN.
Yes. Yeah, I think you and I have the same thing because that number sounds almost identical to mine.
Anyways, so that's men's team. I because I haven't been able to get into it, and I haven't spoken to Ryan Mainville. I haven't picked his brain. Besides the shallow rotation because of health and not being able to get guys in rhythm and keeping a broader rotation going. I know you're feeling like you missed out on Tyree Bryan, which isn't helping. You've just been super thin and without a lot of help in the middle with your bigs, especially. So everything feels like it's been going on under the shoulders of JT Toppin and Chris Anderson. Plus, whoever the third guy is that steps up, it's been Lawan Watts some nights, Jalen Petty some nights, Donovan Atwell on others. But
I feel like we need someone to make a combined 8 threes every night to be in the game.
And that just feels unsustainable.
Yes. Not a single person, but as the team, not someone not named Toppin or Anderson, someone else. A combined version of 3 or 4 guys need to make 8 threes.
Yeah, you had 11 versus Colorado.
Okay, there we go. But how many were from Anderson?
Oh, I'd have to go back and look.
Do you have 3 or 4?
I know Atwell had his share. Atwell had 5. Anderson only had 2.
Okay, there you go.
He was 2 of 6.
My random wild ASS number was kind of close.
Yeah, you had 4 starters getting to double figures. Lawan Watts had 11. Christian Anderson had 15. JT Toppin had 16. Donovan Atwell had 17. Toppin had a double, 16 points, 13 rebounds. And I think that may have happened early on. I think he got his 10th rebound relatively early in the first half, if I remember correctly. All right. Lady Raiders, they played tonight, Michael. You were in the building.
I was, along with Brendan Sorsby. He was there.
I saw a picture. He and
He
his,
and his girlfriend Gretchen, I believe, is her name. They were there. They were true to their word. I know that they mentioned something to Gerlich on Twitter that they were already here and excited to go watch him and just waiting for him to come back to Lubbock. And they were there, which was really cool. So was the Big 12 trophy. They had you had the chance to take a photo with it after the end of the game, and I went over to check it out, but the line was a little long for me.
Mm.
But Spencer, I got to see it. I got to see it. It exists.
Get used
It's
to it, man.
real. Let's get another one. Let's get another one. So that was awesome. But back to the Lady Raiders. Yes, tonight for the third game in a row, they scored 71 points and won, which is kind of interesting. So took down a 6-10 Houston team who came in 0-5 in Big 12 play. So someone that you kind of probably took lighter than you should have, and you could see that in the way the Lady Raiders played. It was kind of an ugly game. I guess I should say the score eventually. Texas Tech won 71-59 tonight, but it was no thanks to 21 turnovers, I believe.
Good gravy.
Is what the Lady Raiders had, and Maupin had 6 on her own. There was some rough stretches. You know, Houston wasn't going away, but a lot of it was Texas Tech was just throwing the ball to them and unable to capitalize on some contested shots at the rim. There were a lot of times that you could tell Gerlich's offense was running as it should be, and one of the players would pop open at the rim, but whoever was at the wing with the ball either didn't see him or didn't try to pass it fast enough. And so I feel like 3 or 4 times they missed out on shots like that. But Bristow had a great night, 6 of 14 from the field. She really kind of battled and was a little more aggressive than I'd seen her in the past few games.
I did see that she made a big shot before half.
Oh, it was incredible. So she had Sydney Love wide open. They had just gotten a rebound, I believe, or a turnover. I don't remember. And the clock was winding down at the end of the half, and I didn't realize how close it was. And so Bristow had the ball in about half court, but Love was in front of her, probably about 10 foot from the basket. And I was like, why isn't she passing it to Love? And then all of a sudden she just heaves it. I'm like, what are we? And then the buzzer went off and she drained it. And so that was pretty cool. That was an awesome way to end the first half.
Yeah, the video I saw, it wasn't even like half court. She was like on the far side of the Double T logo.
Yeah, you're right. It was between the 3-point line and half court. Yeah,
A good almost 3/4 court.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah,
it was
nothing but
it was
net.
a great shot. So yeah, she did really well tonight. Had 7 rebounds on top of that. Of course, Maupin, despite the turnover issue, was perfect from the free throw line. Kind of cold from 3, but still was creating her own shot. Had 19 points, 6 of 6 from the free throw, 6 of 14 overall, but only 1 of 6 from 3. Didn't get a lot of contribution from other teammates. Fritz had 10 points, but for some reason she wasn't playing a whole lot. I'm not really sure if Gerlich's toying with the lineup a little bit. She gave Love quite a bit more time tonight than she has in the past. Of course, Love's just been out with an injury, so I'm sure that's part of it. But Fritz had 2 fouls. I don't know if I'd consider that foul trouble, but anyway, would have liked to see her play a little bit more. She was 4 or 5 on the night. Collins had kind of an uncharacteristically off night coming off the bench, ended up fouling out. The fouls were really questionable, Spencer. You talked about a free throw disparity. Texas Tech had one as the home team, only shooting 17 free throws tonight, where Houston shot 26. And on some really touchy stuff. But the number of fouls was fairly even. It's just most of the fouls called on Houston were not on while Tech was shooting, even though there were some that it sure looked like they were shooting, but I guess not. And then vice versa against Houston. I know that someone got called for basically tying up the ball with someone, and they said that she was shooting it. I don't. Was she? How do you? I don't know. She just had it chest level, and I think it was mopping, kind of tied it up, and then nothing really. It was a foul, I guess, obviously, but anyway, it was not in the act of shooting. I don't know what the heck that was, but despite it being an ugly win, and the last 2 quarters, Texas Tech only outscored Houston 1 point each in each quarter. Like I said, ugly win, but it was a win, and Texas Tech is 19-0. Bailey Maupin was named the Big 12 Player of the Week after what she did. We can go over a little bit of last week. So just to recap, Texas Tech took care of West Virginia in Morgantown, 71-66. They then went to Cincinnati, took care of the Bearcats, 71-60. That was another kind of gritty game that they had to grind out at the end unexpectedly. West Virginia, I think everybody expected that one to be that way, and it was. And this was the first win over the Mountaineers since January of 2015.
Good gravy.
And the win over the Bearcats was the first win over Cincinnati ever in program history. Now, I haven't gone to Scorepedia and see if this is like the fourth time they've played them, so it may not be as profound as that made it sound, but hey, record's a record. So those two victories mark the first time Texas Tech has posted back-to-back road wins in league play in 22 years. Well, I guess just 21. The 04-05 season was the last time that happened. So, like I said, Maupin was named a Big 12 Player of the Week. The first time Texas Tech has had a Big 12 Player of the Week since 2023. She led the team against West Virginia with 27 points. She made 4 3-pointers, which was a career high, shot 53% from the field and 57% from beyond the arc. So she was on fire on the road. She added 17 points against Cincinnati to total her team-leading 16th double-digit scoring game of the season, and she got her 17th tonight. Her efforts helped Texas Tech remain as one of 3 unbeaten teams in the country with UConn and Vanderbilt, and this was written a few days ago, so I have not checked to see if UConn or Vandy played tonight. Anyway, Lady Raiders are on a roll. Had a rough night tonight, but still won. Still managed to find a way to win, despite shots not falling that they're used to falling, despite 21 turnovers, free throw disparity, key players getting into foul trouble. Let's see. Yeah, Collins, of course, like I mentioned her already, she fouled out. Malone had 4. They were really picking on Malone tonight. She really wasn't able to be physical at all. They were going to call just about anything she remotely tried to do. Sanogo had 3 fouls. Love had 3. I know one of them was just kind of an accidental one. She ran into a player that kind of stopped in front of her, but just, hey, good teams find a way to win, even on a bad night. 19-0. And they play, I guess I should get to that. Sorry, I've just been rattling. They play Kansas State, who was 9-9 and are 2-3 in Big 12 play. That is this Saturday at 1:00. And then next week, they host, they go to BYU. I need to specify that. They go to BYU, and BYU's 14-3 and 3-2 in the Big 12, and that's at 7:00 ESPN Plus next Wednesday.
All right. Let's come back to the NFL playoffs. We talked about that last week for a second in our question section, and we'll wrap up with what did we learn.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier, I watched quite a bit of the wild card round this weekend. On the NFC side, the 5-seed Rams took care of the 4-seed Panthers 35-31. 6-seed 49ers took down the 3-seed Eagles 23-19. If both of these teams could have lost, I would have been okay with it. I couldn't care for either of those teams. But I guess I dislike the Eagles more than I dislike the 49ers. So there's that.
That's kind of where I'm at. I kind of like the 49ers. I just don't like that Iowa State thinks they have their own Mahomes. That's kind of what ruins it for me. Also being raised in a Cowboys fan family, you just kind of you kind of aren't allowed to like them. And even though I found myself rooting for the Steelers just a little bit the other day because I'm not huge into the Texans, although I really like their coach. But I'm also, in memory of my father-in-law, who was a huge Steelers fan, grew up in Pennsylvania. So that was kind of part of it too. Cause I skipped ahead, but my daughter, you just never know how much kids are paying attention. She looked up on the TV and saw the Steelers and Texans playing, and she's like, "Oh, that's Pop Pop's team." I was like, "Yeah, it is." How do you remember that? How do you know what? Because she always asks me who's playing and who am I going for, and I always have to tell her who it is because it's not intuitive. Who knows what NE means, or Pitt or whatever. 9-year-old's not going to know what that means, and so I always say what team it is and which one I'm going for. And a lot of times it's just I'm watching football because I like it. I haven't seen this one before. It's a new episode. So
it's new every time.
Yeah, it's new every time. So anyway, but for some reason the Steelers, that stuck in her head, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So long story short, the only ones I really had a strong opinion on this weekend were the Eagles. I did not want the Eagles to win. The rest of it, I was like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing they lost.
Yep.
I had a similar experience. One, I think my youngest just wants to manipulate me so she can hold the phone and eventually work it out of my hands and go steal it and change it. She's like, I want to watch football with you. I was like, well, then get up here. Let's watch football. Because we had something on the big TV in the living room for everybody. So I had the game out on my phone. And also we were watching, I had the Bears Packers game. She's like, she asked, no, sorry, my middle child said, which team are we? The black team or the white team? I was like, well, the black team is actually wearing blue, and I want them to win more than I want the other team. So we were the Bears that game. The Bears ended up winning versus the Packers 31-27. So their divisional series sets up our divisional weekend, number 1 seed Seahawks, touchdown favorite over the 49ers. I'd be okay with that. Bears over Rams. The Seahawks game will be on the 17th, Saturday night, on Fox. And then the Bears-Rams game will be Sunday evening, NBC. Over on the AFC side, Steelers-Texans was last night. And today we saw the end of an era with Mike Tomlin stepping down. Texans ended up winning that one 30-6. Was the largest margin of victory of all the games. You had the 6 seed Bills defeat the Jaguars 27-24. And then the 2 seed Patriots over the 7 seed Chargers 16-3. So their divisional weekend will look like Broncos hosting the Bills. Bills are supposedly a narrow favorite, 1.5 there. 3:30 on CBS on the 17th, Saturday. And then Patriots, Texans, 2 p.m. on ABC, ESPN, Sunday.
I like every single one of these matchups, and we're going to be out of town this weekend, unfortunately, so I probably won't get to watch much of it, but man, great television. And yeah, you already touched on it. That Steelers Texans game was the only quote unquote blowout of the entire weekend. Everything was, and even that game didn't really get out of hand until late in the third. That defense is just insane. Yeah, sorry. Good luck, Patriots. And the Patriots may have the formula to defeat it, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Patriots are going to win.
But
I think they're going to win.
Texans, Steelers, Texans, Patriots. It's going to be a great game.
Did you? I'm sure it's not the first time, but did you catch the broadcast talking about their head coach D'Amico being 41 and Aaron Rodgers was 42?
I did. I
I
did
was like,
catch that.
that's got to be a strange feeling to be on the sideline.
Well,
Like, there's a player out there that's older than I am.
yeah, and they showed a clip of him tackling Murray. Him tackling Rodgers. I think in 07 or 08. I forgot when it was.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
What I appreciate is I look at all these teams and I'm like, outside of probably the Patriots, there's not a team that would make a play at like the Super Bowl and be like, oh man, those guys. Because I think there was a lot of Chiefs fatigue lately.
Sure.
And I know for a while it was the Patriots or whoever Tom Brady was with. But then think about like, if it's chalk and it's like Seahawks Broncos, that could be really cool. 49ers less so. Bears or Rams. I think the Rams have made one recently, but the Bears, I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I'm
a
enjoying.
lot of I mean the Niners have made a couple. The Pats obviously made several many years ago, but this Patriots team, just Vrabel's presence, and he just makes them so much more likable. Because I was as much of a Patriots hater as anybody you could dig up in the last 20 years.
Sure.
But I see this team and I watch them play and I think, okay, I could get on board with this. I'm not going to be too mad if it's somehow like Seahawks, Pats, or whatever it might be. I don't know.
So again, this is like tangential to the actual game on the field. Did you see the shot of him like headbutting a defensive tackle and like busting his lip?
Yeah, instantly getting bloody on the side. Yeah, then that was right at the end of the game, I think.
Yeah. But anyways, I enjoyed it. Got four more games this weekend to set up the AFC NFC championship games to determine Super Bowl participants. But I'm at this point in the season locked back in that it's it's playoffs and Cowboys rivals aren't really in it outside of maybe the 49ers, if you can consider them a rival. I mean, they're on there, but not like as high up as Eagles would have been. So, or Packers. So,
yeah, 49ers these days, 49ers and Steelers is kind of a deep cut in the Cowboys rivalry, but that was just I'm just remembering what I was taught growing up.
Well, I definitely remember the Cowboys Steelers Super Bowl. Is it 30? So
we're about to be at 60, brother.
I hate that. It doesn't feel like it's. I mean, it does, especially when you look at like the T-shirt design. It was like I think they played it in the desert, so it was like the teal and rust
Nice. Yeah.
colored. Anyways, all right. We mentioned this earlier, but let's wrap up with what we learned. Man, the softball team reloaded. If you had forgotten what they had done in their transfer portal window, and the athletes and ladies they added to their team, recognized by the Softball America preseason coming out in their top 25, and Texas Tech earning the #1 spot on their preseason rankings. It's a pretty good spot. Great spot to start.
Yeah, I'll take it because those rankings they matter, whether we want them to or not. And dang right, if you the harder that it is to, it's harder to go from 1 to 15 than it is to go from 15 to wait, that's not right.
It's hard to go 15-1.
Yeah. Well, I think. Do you think you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's a lot better to start in the position of ranked than like having to work your way up.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
I got you. I was there.
But I kind of over tried.
What else did you learn?
I should have had something ready for that, shouldn't I? What did we do? What did we do this weekend? We got fajita Pete's delivered again on Sunday night. Man,
It's been a staple for you guys lately.
can we get them to sponsor us or somebody? It's just so good. We got the fajitas for $4. There was leftovers for days. It was just great. Couldn't recommend enough. It's perfect. No delivery fee. It just shows up to the house, and that was wonderful. I'm sure I should have more, but fajita pizza is still good. I think that's the main thing I learned.
We taken a break for a little while on doing our pulled pork, but we did one this weekend. So I smoked it on Saturday, and I've had some. I had some for dinner Saturday. I had some on lunch Sunday, dinner last night. I didn't have it today because there were other leftovers. Like I need to work on those leftovers. Man, what I do is I make two essentially they're like pulled pork sloppy Joe sandwiches out of them, and they're not like heavy on the sauce, but G Hughes makes a pretty dang good sweet and spicy sauce. And then I'll also do a little splash of A1. But like just enough to like where it's like the moisture in the sandwich isn't just fat. Like there's just a little bit of a sauce. So not like typical sloppy Joe where it's like, swimming in something, but man, I'm gonna have to do that for dinner tomorrow.
Dang.
I want it again. But,
yeah, the A1 is a really nice touch.
But just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
That's all you need.
Because if you season it well and you do the injection that we talked about from Michael's his class that he went to.
Yeah. I've had that for like 10 years now. I still use it too.
I can't remember the last time you sent it to me, but I will go back into our text message history, go into media, scroll through all the pictures and memes and nonsense we sent each other to find that picture of the recipe.
I need to scan it or something, get it up on the cloud. I can't risk losing that piece of paper.
Like I can tell you it now from memory because I mixed it up on Saturday. Like I just used it. It's 3/4 cups water, 1/2 cup of apple juice, 1/4 cup salt, 1/2 cup sugar, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. And then you get that, that hunk of meat to hold as much of that as you can. And then I always will pour on what's left after I shred it and I put it back in the oven to make sure, if there's any kind of cross contamination from using the needle into that cup to kill that off. But man, it
works.
It's tasty, especially with just a hint of sauce, just a little bit. Anyways, all right. I think that'll do it, man.
Yeah, we've done all we can.
All right, that'll do it for us here on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We are following along closely. The portal shenanigans officially closes for a half second here in a couple days. We'll reopen for a couple of teams. We'll see if Texas Tech is in on anybody from Ole Miss, Oregon, but especially Indiana and Miami. Red Raider hoops this week. Lady Raiders this weekend. For Michael, I'm Spencer. Catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at Punt Suck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.